Good morning, afternoon, evening, guys. We're back with another random tier list, continuing on our series of going through the MLB free agents. Last 2 days, we've covered catchers, designated hitters, first baseman, and third baseman. Today, we will be rounding out the infield with shortstops and second baseman. Some interesting guys in this pool we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be ranking them on this tier that you see here on your screen from MVP all the way down to who, with some fun ones like he still plays and serviceable backup in there. We'll see if we can potentially predict the MVP or perhaps the best former free agent, whether they become MVP or not. With all that said, we're going to get started, guys. There will be a couple days before I get to outfield and starting pitching, just to let you know. I do want to finish off this series, but I have a couple other videos I need to make this weekend, so that'll be coming beginning of next week. Let's start. Donovan Solano is our first second baseman on the block. Now, this does not include Semien Hernandez or Garcia, Lowry Garcia, that is, who have all already signed deals and I think are all probably better than Donovan Solano. I think Donovan Solano is an above average second baseman. I think whatever team gets him, will be happy to have him. He is 34, which is older than I realized that he was. I actually thought he was in his late 20s. I guess he's been around longer than I realized, but I do think he is an above average second baseman. His defense is not bad at all, I don't believe, unless I'm totally off base here. But yeah, he's above average. Josh Harrison, I'd also say, is above average. A lot of the similar reasons there. Josh Harrison is also able to play multiple positions, and I believe Solana can also play third, or at least he used to, I think. Harrison also can play third base. He can also play, I believe, the outfield. So Harrison has before, and I assume will continue to play multiple positions for whatever team he is on, provided that they need him to do that. Though, like Solano, he is 34, which is, again, older than I realized, though I think I had an idea that Harrison was a little bit older. I think I was going to draft him in a Dynasty League one time, and I decided not to. Yeah. Anyway, so we have Solana and Harrison so far, above average. Next up, we have Jed Lowry, who I didn't realize was 38. Jed Lowry, at his age, I don't think should be starting. He just is not going to be able to start enough games for you. He's going to get injured. He's not going to produce. I think he's a serviceable backup. At his age, I think his days of being a good starting second baseman are behind him. Though he can probably back up shortstop still if you need him to. And then he can be your primary backup second baseman or extra infielder. Coming up here, we have Chris Owings, another man that's played multiple positions in his career, and the youngest guy we've talked about so far. Chris Owings is 30 years old, and I think he is a mediocre second baseman. I have no problem with him starting at second base. I think he's going to be average. That is what I mean by mediocre here. In these lists, I mean, just average run-of-the-mill. I think that pretty much describes Chris Owings and how he will be playing this coming year. Next up, we have Jason Kipnis, who I honestly thought retired. I did not realize he was still playing the game of baseball. He's probably a serviceable backup. I would not want him as my starter, though a locker room leader perhaps. At the age of 35, I don't know. I feel he's younger than Jed Lowry, and Jed Lowry's still kicking. So, and I actually knew he was playing. So I don't know. Jason Kipnis, though, he still plays? Question mark. Oh God, Matt Carpenter. Can I just go on the record and say that I am so sorry to anybody that plays with me in Dynasty Baseball, because I definitely talked Matt Carpenter up when I traded for him like 2 years ago, and I was so happy with getting him, and he had first, second, and third base eligibility that year, and he just looks a lot older than he is. He's 36, and he looks like he's 42. I don't understand how he's still playing second base. Does he not have the arm strength for third? I honestly don't know. But I do expect him to end up at first base sooner than later. I think he can still start, all my crap talk there considered. I think he is still a mediocre starter, definitely a lower end starter, but I think he is a starter. I think he is probably better than Jed Lowry. Jordan Mercer we have coming up. Jordan Mercer, I think, is a similar case there of Jed Lowry, though he is a lot younger. Well, actually, not a lot. He's 35. Lots of free agent second basemen here that are old as hell. Even Semien, Cesar Hernandez, and Larry Garcia that all signed already were all over 30. So not a lot of youth out there on the market if you are trying to sign that. Thinking about the teams who may need to sign a second baseman, a lot of them do have guys coming up. So I guess that's a good thing. All right, enough rambling. Let's keep it going. We got some fun guys up here. Greg Garcia. I don't know who that is. I think he played for the Tigers because that's what it says in the picture. I probably have heard this name. I've probably seen him. I could not have told you what position he played though. D. Strange Gordon. I did not realize. Well, actually, I guess I did know D was still playing. I actually am a big D. Gordon fan. D. Strange Gordon now. Going back to his original position of second base, after he was in the outfield for several years in Seattle, I believe. Right? Did that happen? Somewhere with the pandemic, I lost D. Strange Gordon in my brain. Am I crazy to say D. Gordon will still be a startable second baseman? I might be. But I'm going to go ahead and put him in the mediocre tab. I don't think he is quite as bad as Jed Lowry or Jordy Mercer. He is 34, though. Franklin Barreto, I think, will be a serviceable backup. Barreto is the youngest guy that we have talked about so far. He is only 26. He did opt out of last season, or I believe he opted out. He just didn't play. I don't actually know the story there. But I think he's a serviceable backup. Like I said, he's the youngest guy that is on this second base list, so getting him, locking him down for a little bit might not be a bad idea. Next up here, we have Rio Ruiz. I don't know who that is. He is 28 years old, but he does not look that old. Sorry, Rio. Yeah, I don't know who Rio Ruiz is, honestly. Marwin Gonzalez, only 33, been around for forever. Can play whatever position you want him to play, similar to what we were talking about yesterday with Brock Holt. I think Marwin Gonzalez is a serviceable backup. I would not want him as my starter. However, with how many positions Marwin Gonzalez can play, even now getting into his early 30s here, he can probably still back you up anywhere. I mean, if you have him on your team, right, backing up second base, he can back up first, he can back up the outfield, no problem. Eric Sogard is up next. I did not realize that Eric Sogard was still playing baseball. However, he is. I don't think he should be starting anymore, though. Pat Valaika, I don't know who that is. It's bad when I read some of their baseball reference sheets and it says pinch hitter as one of their positions. Like, that is their position of skill. And not for the reasons of, like, a Billy Gordon, back in the day where he was actually good for a year. Yeah, let's move on. We're moving on to shortstops here. Talking about two that are really, really good. Carlos Correa having a 6.6 WAR, 27 years old. I mean, he's got to be an MVP caliber, right? Personally, I don't think Correa will win the MVP, but I think he has a shot to. And that's more than I can say for pretty much anybody else that we have seen on this list so far. From what we're seeing, the pool available of shortstops this year is definitely better than the pool available of second basemen. So it's good that some of those skills are interchangeable. I'd say Trevor Story also has MVP potential. He is 29 years old, getting over that hump in the middle of his career there. But he has still been producing. He is still looking good. Going to be weird to see him out of Colorado, though, so we'll have to see how he produces in another altitude. But I do think Trevor Story is the second best player in this pool, right behind Carlos Correa. And Correa as an Angel, think about that. I don't want to because I don't like Carlos Correa because the Astros are cheaters. Okay, let's not get into that. Okay. Also, I'm an Angels fan, so if you couldn't tell that. Jose Iglesias, speaking of Angels, I think he's an all-star caliber player. I think... Okay, somebody's got to be all-star on this list, right? And there's nobody else. Our next guy is Freddie Galvis. Okay, we're going to put Jose Iglesias in there. I think he's the third best player in this pool, but that's not saying a lot because Correa and Story are really the only stars in it. But Jose Iglesias has great defense. He is a serviceable bat in your lineup. He's definitely above average. And I think on the right team, in the right conditions, if he's one of the guys lower down in your lineup, and he's, holding down the infield with his defense, I think that, honestly, he could make the All-Star team on the right team. I might be reaching there. Let me know. Yeah. Freddie Galvis here. Freddie Galvis, I do think, is an above-average shortstop. Or at least an above-average player. Like, if he played second base, he would easily beat out all these guys listed under mediocre, right? So I do think he's above average. The pool of shortstops is very, very deep this year, though. It seems like, overall in baseball. So Freddie Galvis, I think he's an above average player. Might end up being an average shortstop. But he can play a couple different positions there, too. And Andrelton Simmons, I think he's above average. That defense is legendary. And despite the fact that he is 32 now, it's still great. He brings a reliable bat to your lineup. I'd say more reliable than Freddie Galvis. With Galvis, though, actually, I was going to say Freddie Galvis is younger, but he is the same age as Andrelton Simmons and has a higher WAR. Interesting. I'd say that they're both above average for different reasons there. Perhaps I'm underselling Galvis's offense. We have Pete Kozma coming up here, who I didn't realize was 34 years old. I think Pete Kozma is a serviceable backup. I don't think he should really be starting as your shortstop. If he is, you probably have some other issues going on. Devin Moreo. Yeah, I don't know who that is. He plays on the Marlins, so that's not a surprise. Andrew Romine. I barely know who this guy is, even though he's been on 85 teams. I'm just going to say Andrew Romine's bad and leave him there by himself in that green category. And yeah, I'll leave it there. These are all the middle infield free agents, guys, second basemen and shortstops that are still on the market if we get a baseball season. And God, I hope we get a baseball season. If you're watching this several days after I actually recorded it, please let me know in the comments if we have a baseball season or not. Well, I hate to end on that depressing note, but in a few days we'll be back with our outfielders and pitchers tier lists. If you guys appreciate that, appreciate tier lists in general, like and subscribe to the channel is always appreciated from me. And either way, though, we'll be back tomorrow, the next day, most days here on this channel, making random tier lists about sports, anime, random things I think of, video games, and whatnot. Because this is, as you guys hopefully know, the guy who makes random tier lists, and I'm signing off.